Well, John, it's our 69th episode. What do you think?
Oh, you interrupted me. I was looking at.
Why? On set?
Well, it's the 69th episode. Why not? You know, we got to have sex, all that stuff.
Roll the thing.
Vinyl Peeps, I hope you're ready. It's going to be an exciting show.
It's going to be an adult show.
Yeah.
It's our 69th episode, and we wanted to do something special for that, and I think we're going to today. But the first thing that we want to talk to you guys about is going to our YouTube channel, Vinyl Ventures. We want you to go. We want you to like. We want you to subscribe to that channel. We want you to share it with your friends, share it with your family. Maybe not this episode. And
Mom may be mad.
Yeah, and just, get the word out for Vinyl Ventures, because the YouTube channel is really where this show exists and the podcast emanates from it, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so we'll move on to bigger and dirtier things. What are we talking about today, John?
Well, we're talking about songs with
adult themes.
Getting busy.
Getting busy.
It's the Getting Busy episode.
We will be very busy with getting busy because there's a lot of songs in pop music and rock music and all types of music that carry that theme.
Yeah, I mean, rock was known as sex, drugs, and rock and roll forever.
Yeah, and that's kind of the ethos that a lot of bands in rock live and die by, and in other types of music, country music. I mean,
music in general.
Yeah. So we thought it would be fun to talk about those albums, those bands, those songs that are of an adult nature. And I got to tell you, I texted him last night when I was pulling my records for the show today. And before I pulled my records, I put the records from the last show back. How about that?
Good move.
Yeah. I'm really learning, because I'm losing music left and right. Anyway, it was a lot of fun, like looking up what songs I had, and just there were definitely a bunch of them that I had in my head already, but then just kind of looking for other ideas, and it was a blast. My wife got into it. She was like, "Well, do you have blah blah blah?" I do.
I bet you were pulling a lot of records out and slipping a lot of records in.
Repeatedly. Yes, I did that.
There's going to be some innuendo on this show.
In my end, though?
You never know.
John, what is your first adult-themed record you'd like to discuss?
Well, first up, the Buzzcocks. And
that sounds dirty just right there.
Yeah, Buzzcocks. Just say that 10 times with me. Everybody. Buzzcocks. There we go. Well, one time is good enough.
Buzzcocks.
Okay.
Sounds painful. Sounds like a bee is involved.
Yeah. So this is actually a collection. It's their singles, and there's a song on here that was on their initial release, Orgasmatic, and I think that pretty much says it.
There's not a lot of
there's not a lot of stuff to go into with that. It's it was about orgasms and somebody who was addicted to orgasms.
Really? Okay. That's there are those folks.
And this was their debut single on the 4th of November 1977.
Okay.
And
interesting.
It was the song, because of its sexual content, was banned by the BBC, and the BBC was playing all this punk and post-punk music, but they're like, we're not going to play that one.
Right.
That's going to get us in trouble, especially in the UK.
Yeah. What year?
77.
77. So, the Sex Pistols, if they hadn't made their debut, they were very soon to make their debut.
Yeah.
Yeah. The UK became very prudy around that time.
Which is kind of weird because of what was going on, with the whole punk movement and post-punk movement in the UK. The songs were very suggestive and political.
Yeah.
So the UK is like, oh, we don't like this.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an interesting place and time for sure. With all of the punk type bands that there were popping up, it seemed like they were growing them there.
Yeah. Pete Shelley and Howard Devoto formed the band in 76. And so, this just came out about a year after they formed. I mean, there are tons of bands that formed on the heels of the Sex Pistols. I've said it a million times, but they were wildly influential in the music business.
Much like the Velvet Underground.
Yeah.
Was, they say that they spawned thousands and thousands of bands. So did the Sex Pistols.
Yeah.
And did it with only one album.
Yeah.
And the Buzzcocks are another big punk band.
Yeah. They, and Shelley went on to release his own stuff, and he had moderate success, and so did Devoto.
Well, that's a good one, man. I haven't really dug into the Buzzcocks, but I've gotten a couple of their albums from a friend, and I really need to dig into that. I love these portraits on the back.
Yeah. Orgasm Addict, I had a friend who was into that song. He just loved it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean,
no.
There's always going to be a first, right? There's always going to be a first record. And it's always going to come and go.
Yes, it will. But bump.
Yeah, thank you. Well, my first one is, my wife and I had a discussion last night about how many songs by this band I could pull out. And, I had to go with Love Gun because of the song. It's the album title. It was a reaction to the Sex Pistols instead of Sex Pistol Love Gun. That's supposedly where Paul Stanley got the idea for the song. Yeah. And this is probably my second favorite Kiss album cover. It is fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
And then, you have, let's face it, the Kiss sings about sex, about almost every song. Probably every other song. But you've got Love Gun, got Love for Sale, Christine 16, which is a, plaster caster, which is about the set of groupies in the 60s and 70s that would take plaster casts of the rock stars that they conquered of their, their private area. Shock Me, which is Ace singing. Then She Kissed Me, I Stole Your Love. So I guess what I'm saying is Kiss's entire catalog, like I said, about every other song is sex. So you just can't go wrong. But
yeah, just pick one.
This is one of my favorite albums by them. It's so great. And if you see Kiss in concert, Paul Stanley does the flying over the audience when he sings Love Gun, and it's a spectacle. Obviously Kiss is no longer a thing, but their shows were epic, and their songs mostly about sex.
As they should be.
Yeah. What else would you expect from guys that look like they're kabuki monsters up on stage? 6.5 foot tall kabuki monsters. And I've always loved this because they have like these women like at their feet here, and they've got the white makeup.
They've got the makeup on,
with the red lipstick, and it's very cool. Very shocking back then, less so now, but Kiss will always hold a special place in my heart, and I thought this was a good one to start with.
That is a great one.
Yeah.
Next. Okay, we're going to get controversial.
Uh-oh. Ooh.
Black Flag. Say it 3 times. Black Flag. And this is from a live album. And Who's Got the 10.5? That's not the one I'm talking about. They're a lot like Kiss.
Yeah.
A lot of their songs are about sex.
Yeah.
But they have a song on this album, Slip It In. And Slip It In was on their fourth studio album. And the album itself has a nun clutching a thigh, and it says "Slip It In." I don't have that one, but that's on my to get list.
Well, it's hard to find this Black Flag stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
it
It doesn't pop up a lot.
and it wasn't produced in large numbers.
No.
So, it's kind of expensive most of the time,
Yeah.
right? This is Henry Rollins' era
Yes.
of Black Flag, right? Henry, if you're listening, we'd love to have you on the show and talk about records. It'd be awesome. Henry joined Black Flag in 1981.
The song "Slip It In" came out in '84, and that year, this is special. That year, they would release 3 full-length albums, and they toured constantly, with Rollins noting that 178 performances for the year,
That's a lot.
and about as many in 1985. So for those 2 years, they lived on the road.
Like basically every other day they're playing.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And, that includes travel. So
Yeah. I mean, that's that punk rock ethos.
Yeah.
Though. I mean, that's how the word got out. There was no internet, no cell phones. I mean, people heard of bands through word of mouth, through underground magazines. People were making mixtapes at this point. So sharing music, cassettes had just kind of popped up over the last few years. So yeah, there was that working man's band mentality.
yeah, and that's how bands of that era had to make a living.
Yeah.
That was the only way, especially if they had different music, they had to get noticed. And the only way to do that was to play everywhere and anywhere they could.
Yeah. And with anyone
Yeah.
and everyone they could. So yeah, I mean, it's not a surprise that we're still talking about bands like this because they put that work in. I mean, they may not be an everyday band that people know, but people know Henry Rollins.
Yeah.
And people remember that kind of effort.
Yeah, and
sure.
much like we've talked about with bands like the Misfits, Black Flag, the logo is unmistakable.
Iconic. It's iconic.
Yeah.
For sure.
Like when you see that logo, hey, it's Black Flag.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really cool, man. I have 1 or 2 things of Black Flags, but I should really. It's SST Records, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Damaged is, I think that was Henry's initial release as a lead singer, and that's the one that everybody goes after.
Yeah, that's cool. Awesome, man. Well, way to bring Black Flag into it.
Black Flag.
Gotta love that.
You're up.
Well, this is The Gold Experience by Prince, and it's the 17th studio album by Prince, 17th album released in 1995. Think about that.
17th.
Yeah. And, as with most Prince albums, they're usually objectionable or adult-themed songs. Whether or not he's objectionable on the cover, wearing a Speedo and nothing else, or posing nude on the cover, which he did on Love Sexy. But this is one of my favorite Prince songs and one of the more controversial ones, and it's P Control. I'm not going to say the whole name, but P Control opens this album up. The singles from The Gold Experience were The Most Beautiful Girl in the World, I Hate You, and Gold. But this song kind of like it was all people talked about from this. And there was a time in Prince's career where, he went back, I believe he went back to being a Jehovah's Witness because his mother had passed away and wanted him to. So that point forward, he stopped singing the dirty songs. And when you think about Prince's catalog, I mean,
What did he sing?
Yeah, what songs do you sing if you're not singing the dirty songs? This is really cool. It was a Record Store Day release. And it's a replica of the expanded limited edition promo version of Prince's album on 2 gold LPs. So, and then you've got like all the information back here with the Prince symbol.
Beautiful.
But I love the guy though. I mean, he liked what he liked. He played all the instruments. He wrote all the songs. He produced it. He recorded and engineered a lot of it. So, when there's somebody that does that much and does it that well, you kind of let them go and do their thing. And Prince certainly did that. I mean, 17 albums by 1995, that's a lot.
That is a bundle. That's about one a year.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And, they say that there's plenty of stuff out there that he recorded that was never released.
That still has not seen the light of day.
He was a busy man.
Yes, he was.
All right. What's your next one?
Next. You knew it was coming.
Oh, yeah. Downward Spiral, 9 Inch Nails.
9 Inch Nails, Closer. Now, this song has a verse that is, I want to fuck you like an animal.
Yeah.
And that pretty much tells you where the song is going.
Yeah. And the crazy thing is, this kind of became a hit.
Yeah.
This kind of became
it
a
really
radio
did.
hit, being an edited version of it.
Yeah.
But you'd hear it on the radio.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I mean, I don't remember any song dropping that word, leaving it in the song, even just bleeping it out, becoming a hit before this. I mean, that's a big deal.
It came out during the height of the grunge era. It's not really grunge. It's more, it's a
industrial,
darker wave.
Yeah. Yeah. And what year was it?
This came out in 94.
94. Okay. 94. Yeah, man. That song, this album sold a bunch. Trent Reznor's working man's attitude toward, getting this band off the ground really, really paid off with this album. This is really where it all began.
And it's the second release. First release, Pretty Hate Machine. And it's different than Pretty Hate Machine.
Yeah. It Pretty Hate Machine kind of, to me, sounded, I mean, it's industrial for sure, but also had kind of a Europe, like
more of a post-punk vibe.
Post-punk European kind of feel. And this kind of just has its own, it almost operates on its own frequency.
Yes, it really does.
For sure. And it's a long album too.
Yeah, it's a double. And for the longest time, this was super hard to get. It's getting a lot easier now as pressing plants are ramping back up after COVID. I mean, really, anything from the 90s.
I brought it too.
Nice. Anything from the 90s is in high demand.
Especially the mid-90s, because by 94, 95, 96, the amount of records produced was totally overshadowed by CD and cassette.
Oh, yeah.
And the numbers as the decade goes on go down and down.
Yeah.
So a repop for this was definitely a necessity, because otherwise people are going to be trying to probably go after the same 200,000 copies that might have been produced in the first place.
Yeah.
That's a good one, man.
Yeah, it's the song's about self-hatred and obsession. Imagine that from Reznor. The videos helped really drive this. The videos were very torturous, and I think at one point it may have even got banned.
Yeah.
By MTV, just because it was too far out there.
Yeah. Too objectionable.
Yeah, everything was objectionable with 9 Inch Nails.
Yeah. And now he's doing soundtracks and composing for movies and stuff.
Yeah.
How far we have come.
The circle of life,
so to speak.
You're up.
I'm going to talk about these guys again. I don't know if I've mentioned that I like Midland. They're a country band. This is their first album, On the Rocks. Came out in 2017. And there's a song on this called Make a Little, and I think you know what they might be talking about. And these guys are a feel-good kind of traditional, like neo-traditional country band, and they've got unbelievable production on the albums, beautiful harmonies, and I just can't stop listening to them. So when we decided on this show, I'm like, well, you know what? I'm going to bring another Midland record. Drinking Problem is the big song off of this one. This album is fire. Their new album was supposed to be out like 2 months ago, and it still hasn't come out. So I don't know what's going on there. But these guys are on Big Machine Records, which I believe is part of Universal Music Group. I think it's the record company that Taylor Swift was on and had the big clash with.
Oh.
Yeah. The guy that started Big Machine, I think he basically started the record company for her.
Oh.
And he's the one that didn't want to give her catalog, so she went and re-recorded it and re-released it. Back to Midland, though. There's not a bad song on this. Good 3.5 minute country pop type tunes. And I just love their outfits on this, too. They kind of look like they just walked out of the desert and picked up some instruments and started singing in harmony. But Make a Little. Give it a listen. I think you'll like it. And if you don't, John will send you your money back.
Maybe.
What would you like to go to next, John?
Well, I'm going to tell you something, Jay. Just relax. Relax by Frankie Goes to Hollywood off of a Welcome to the Pleasure Dome. And this one's kind of
I've got
beat
the
up.
single. I've got the 12-inch single with me. Yeah, the
Ooh.
extended 12-inch single.
Nice.
Yeah. Welcome to the Pleasure Dome, though. Good record, man.
Because actually, it's funny you have the 12-inch single because it came out before this album.
Yeah.
Frankie only released 2 albums. And this came out in 83. And it was getting, I don't know that it was getting a bunch of airplay, certainly on MTV. Mm-hmm. MTV loved Frankie Goes to Hollywood.
Mm-hmm. They were controversial.
Yeah.
I mean, basically, everybody the main guy in the group was gay.
Yeah.
And the song Relax is
about a whole same-sex experience.
Yeah. I was wondering if you were going to stop with that word. It's a great song, though.
It is a great song.
It's got like some different movements to it, and it turned into a big dance song, like almost like a disco song.
Yeah, and that's really what a lot of the new wave post-punk bands were doing. They had great dance songs.
Yeah.
And that was going on in the UK. That's why 12-inch singles were really taking off, because clubs were... How long is the
version of it on here? It is... let's see. It doesn't say. Well, that's wild. This single as a 12-inch is part 2 in 1985 Escape Act and number 7 in ZIT's Blistered Action series. So on this, there is Welcome to the Pleasure Dome on side A, side B, Get It On, and Relax. International is what it says.
Yeah, so it's a collection of 12-inch singles.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
Very cool. Yeah, and this album had 4 singles: Relax, Two Tribes, The Power of Love, and Welcome to the Pleasure Dome.
Yeah. Yeah.
And those all, it's kind of strange with this band because those singles came out from 83 until 85.
The song kind of really had a long shelf life.
Yeah, they had a long shelf life.
It was also in Body Heat, I think. Wasn't there a whole scene in Body Heat where they were recording the video?
There are tons of films that were using the song. Anytime somebody would go in a club, Relax was on.
Yeah. I worked with a buddy back in my local TV news days that absolutely loved this song. So we heard it a lot.
Yeah, it's a very, very good song, very upbeat, just danceable song.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think even though people knew it was about, gay sex, I don't think anybody really cared, or they ignored it.
No, which is kind of ironic because, the whole AIDS epidemic was
Starting to
really
become a big thing.
becoming a big thing at the time. And it's so, it doesn't make sense that a song about that would be such a hit at a time like that, because, unfortunately that whole epidemic was ignored for a very long time.
Yeah.
And it extended much longer than it should have been, just because of ignorance and people not understanding, understanding any of the science around it. That was going on at the same time that this song just blew up. And, there probably were plenty of people who went out and bought the album or bought the 12-inch single, not even having a clue what the song was
Right.
about, just because they liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one, man. And I've always loved the cover of this.
Oh,
too.
yeah.
And then on the back, there's a different scene. They're a cool band. Definitely a place in time.
I think they do a cover of Born to Run. Yes.
You've mentioned that before.
Which I love.
Yeah.
I love their cover of Born to Run. I love covers, but their cover of Born to Run is phenomenal.
I'll have to check that out. I've seen this at a show. This will pop up at a lot of shows.
Yeah.
And it's usually $12-15. Next time I see it, I'm going to get it.
Yeah, I need to get the vinyl's perfect.
The jacket. Yeah.
I need to get, so if I can find one with crappy vinyl but a good jacket,
You're set.
I'm set.
That's a good one, man. That's really
You're up.
great. Well, I'm going to a band who, much like Kiss, sang a lot about sex. But this is the Sammy era. This is, the name of this album is For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge. What does that spell?
Stage is set.
I think we know. But, what I grabbed this one for was the song Spanked. And it's about, in the 80s and 90s, those telephone lines that you could call and, have phone sex. So the song Spanked is basically about that. But, the first song on this album is Pound Cake, and that's also a song about sex. Run Around is a song about someone withholding sex. So there's a whole lot of sex when it comes to Van Halen. And you go to the Dave era, what song isn't about sex?
Yeah.
If you can decipher what it is he's saying, which it's not, exactly veiled lyrics, but, we need to do a showdown between the Dave and Sammy era. Just mental note.
That'll be a good one.
The Sammy era of Van Halen, he was a much better singer live. They became 10 times more popular at the time, but then there's something so awesome about the Dave era that's so gritty and kind of dirty feeling. And, David Lee Roth has proven himself to be kind of a wacky dude.
Yeah. I think the way to sum it up, it's kind of like the difference between being a kid and an adult.
That's pretty good. Yeah. Yeah. That's not bad. And, David Lee Roth was born here in Bloomington, Indiana. I believe his dad was a doctor. His uncle owned Cafe Wah in New York City. I think he comes from a pretty privileged background. And the band has said the only reason that they asked him to be in the band is because he had a PA system.
Yeah.
Back in the days when not just anybody had a PA system. But I love both. I don't think you have to have a fight between the different eras of Van Halen, because I think they're almost completely different bands, with some similarities. But I love the Sammy era. I love his voice was never better than it was in the
yeah.
early to mid 90s. He could sing the phone book, and man on a mission, also about sex. I mean,
It just goes on and on.
just, hey guys, let's do a magnum opus about sex. That would be for unlawful carnal knowledge, or you could shorten it to fuck. What's your next one?
Well,
Jacob's going to have a great time just bleeping every other.
Well, we don't have to bleep these. All right. So you talked about spanking.
Uh-oh. Oh, yeah.
The Pretenders.
Pretenders 2.
Their second album,
Yep.
Bad Boys Get Spanked. This came out in 81. And this thing had a lot of singles.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, 5 singles. Talk of the Town, Message of Love, Day After Day, Louie Louie, and I Go to Sleep. Not Bad Boys Get Spanked.
Mm-mm.
But when I saw the Pretenders in Lafayette, they played that song, and it was phenomenal.
Oh, they were such a... Was this before they lost the 2 members? Because they lost 2 of the original members, I think.
I think they were on this album.
Yeah.
The first 2 albums.
Yeah. And then I think that both of them died of drug overdoses.
Yeah. And there's also another sexual innuendo song on this, The Adulteress. And it's, I mean, as we've talked, rock and roll is about sex. There's no 2 ways about it.
Yeah, it's about sex. It's about rebellion. It's about freedom.
Yeah.
Drinking, drugs. I mean, they're all umbilically connected to the thing that is rock and roll.
Yeah,
for sure. I've always loved the Pretenders. I mean, I think she is so awesome, leading a band, playing guitar, having that voice at a time where there weren't a lot of female voices in pop music, in rock music. I mean, there began to be. Pat Benatar became more famous a little later, Cyndi Lauper, I mean, Madonna, but she's kind of a trailblazer, and I don't think people talk about them enough.
No, they don't talk about them enough, and they don't realize, I think a lot of people don't realize Chrissy's background. She actually worked at the clothing store that Malcolm McLaren had in the UK,
Mm-hmm.
and she did an early album, and she was actually considered to be a guitarist for the Sex Pistols.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's
because
cool.
it was, a very tight community. Malcolm McLaren was doing his, Malcolm McLaren thing and putting together people to create music and
Yeah. Malcolm McLaren, kind of like the UK's Andy Warhol.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So then I think she kind of, because it was a boys club,
Mm-hmm.
and she got burned out on the UK, came back to the US, to Ohio,
Yeah.
and the rest is history.
Yeah. What a great band. What a great front woman.
Oh yeah.
I mean, one of my favorites. I mean, those first 2 Pretenders records are totally untouchable.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned. That's a good one, man. I love the shot of them. I think this is them in the... Is this in the studio or is this on stage? I've always loved that shot. I don't know if it's...
It's got to be a stage.
Is The Adulteress the song that opens the album?
Yes.
And then Bad Boys Get Spanked, man.
Yes.
Huh.
Then Message of Love.
Yeah.
Then you go to sleep.
It's a concept record.
Yeah.
That's a good one, man. I love it.
All right. So you're up. What are we
Well,
going to hear?
I'm going to... Let's see. I need to find it. You know what? Let's do this one. This is an easy one.
Oh.
AC/DC, Back in Black. You Shook Me All Night Long. I don't think it's going to be a surprise to anybody that that's about sex. But then again, much in the vein, so to speak, of Van Halen, about every other AC/DC song is about sex.
Yeah.
But You Shook Me All Night Long and Back in Black, this is an industry-changing record And I don't listen to it that much, but you hear it all the time when you go to shows. They're playing the songs leading up to whoever you're going to see. Inevitably, they're going to play Highway to Hell or Back in Black before that main band comes on. You hear it on the radio.
Sporting events. You're not gonna go to a sporting event and not hear an AC/DC song.
Right.
It came out at a time really when we needed that music. We needed just pure rock and roll.
Yeah, and we've talked about it before, but they had their big kind of breakthrough hit as an Australian band. They had their breakthrough hit with Highway to Hell. And Bon Scott died, right at the point where this band was just on the precipice. And I've heard that some of these songs were written. Now, whether or not there were versions of a couple of these songs sung by Bon, I have no idea. Anyway, Brian Johnson was in a band called Geordie, and I think one of the young brothers had heard Bon mention that he was a big fan of the guy that sang for Geordie, which was Brian Johnson. And that supposedly is why he got the call. And Brian Johnson talks about going to the Bahamas and recording this album with them and, doing a couple songs and going out to have a cigarette and thinking to himself, my career's over. This is never going to sell. There's no way that this is going to be a hit. And it's sold 40 million copies?
Yeah, it's got to be their number one selling album.
Yeah, for sure. And the singles from Back in Black, You Shook Me All Night Long, Hell's Bells, Rock and Roll Ain't Noise Pollution, which is probably my favorite, Brian Johnson era AC/DC song, and Back in Black. And, at the time this came out, they'd been together for 7 years. This was released July 25th, 1980. As I mentioned, their commercial breakthrough, Highway to Hell. They were planning to record a follow-up, but in February of 80, Scott died from alcohol poisoning after a drinking binge. And they considered disbanding, but thank goodness they didn't, because the biggest part of their career, and really one of the biggest bands in the world, is AC/DC. And had they not gone forward, we wouldn't have this or all of the other great things that they've done since then. And I've always loved AC/DC because of they do what they do, and that's it.
Yeah, they don't
stray from what they do. They got 3 chords in 3 minutes, and that's it.
You get the same sound on every record, but it's a great sound.
Yeah.
It's hard to get enough of it. It's
undeniable. And it is. It's almost like ear candy to listen to an AC/DC record, especially the good ones. I mean, there are some bad ones, and like I said, I mean, flip a coin and pick a song. I mean, one of their songs is going to be about fucking. But
without a doubt.
But this is not my favorite AC/DC record by any means, but You Shook Me All Night Long definitely
needs to be on the sex show.
Definitely needs to be on show 69. What's next for you?
Next up, The Gun Club, Fire of Love. And this is not the original cover. The original cover is this pink thing with, it's almost like a voodoo, somebody carrying a voodoo torch and a voodoo guy, and it's kind of scary.
Kind of odd.
I'm sure somebody said, that's not going to sell. So this came out in 81, and this is, I probably picked it up not too long after that.
Mm-hmm.
And I love how they've done these little drawings of each of the things, but it kicks off with Sex Beat. And that says everything.
You've mentioned Gun Club a few times before, and I've just never dug into it.
They're kind of a. There was this subgenre called psychobilly.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And they're kind of a psychobilly band.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean it's really rockabilly plus punk. psychobilly.
Equals psychobilly.
Yeah.
Okay, I gotcha. That's a good description. It says a lot.
Yeah. So yeah, Sex Beat from the Gun Club. I love everything about the Gun Club. They've been. It's funny when you look them up. The genre is everything from post punk, punk blues, gothic country, psychobilly, gothic country. Because they're really they're talk singers.
Yeah. I wonder if they liked the song Hot Rod Lincoln.
Oh, I'm sure I wouldn't be surprised if they covered that at some point.
Commander Cody. Classic.
Let's see. Nope, I don't see them covering it. They
Oh,
should have.
Yeah.
They should have definitely.
How many albums do they have, or do you know?
Just two.
Just two.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's Fire of Love and Miami was their follow up.
Okay.
And then they kind of disbanded.
Did any of the members go on to other stuff?
Yeah, they've gone on to form other bands that just nothing really took like the Gun Club.
Yeah.
And there have been a bunch of collections that come out on Record Store Day, and a re-release of this with the original cover came out. I had to pick it up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you get it when it came out, or have you bought it
On
since?
RSD.
Oh, how much was that?
I don't know.
Probably what everything was, $40.
All those are around $30 to $40.
Yeah.
So it's somewhere in there.
That's cool.
But it's one of those I had to have.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's where they get you. It's probably on some color of vinyl too, isn't it?
I just wanted the original.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, to have the original cover.
Yeah. I get it, man. I'm the same way.
A lot of stuff pops up, special releases, like live releases. I don't know. I don't know what happened in the 80s, but they were small clubs.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a lot of these things were recorded on like Walkman. They're just
A lot of bands, especially a lot of punk bands, would record on their portable stereos. Just put a cassette in there and record.
Yeah, they weren't even off the soundboard. It was just, and some of them are just not really good.
Yeah, but at the same time, there's an authentic feel to that kind of thing.
I suppose.
It is nice to have individual tracks that can be mixed and put together nicely.
Yeah,
That's for sure.
It doesn't even sound live. It just sounds like a bad live recording.
Oh man, that's a good one. There's so many to choose from.
Yes.
I think I'm gonna go with this one. This is a very controversial record, and this is the single of that record. This is Wasp's "Fuck Like a Beast." This song was originally supposed to be on their first album, but it kind of became a live staple that people loved. But then I don't believe the record company wanted it to be on the album. That it's a song by Wasp, originally intended to be the opening track on their self-titled '84 debut album, but was dropped before the album's released. It was dropped before the album's release, although it does appear as a bonus track on the 1998 reissue. I just saw Wasp in Detroit last year, or maybe the year before last, but they hadn't toured the U.S. in a really long time. It was a great show. I mean, there's some controversy as to whether or not he was actually singing, but I went to New York City with my wife, and we went to this flea market down in the Dumbo area.
Oh, that's when you did. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
and I got a bunch of stuff, and I saw this. I'm flipping through, and I'm like, this is going to be mine. I don't care what it's worth. I love the back of this too, because you got the pictures. He's got the bloody skull. This guy's swinging his guitar like it's an axe. You got the saw blade, lightning bolt logo. I mean, everything about these guys was, hey, we're gonna take what Kiss did and push it over the edge. So this is like a favorite song. And Blackie Lawless is a born-again Christian, so I think he has some kind of hesitations about playing this song, but it's also like the song for the band
that everybody wants to hear.
that everybody wants to hear. So you almost have to. And here's his little cod piece, with blood all over the hands. I mean, like I said, Wasp became popular at a time where that was what bands were doing to get noticed. Motley Crue did the same thing. That's just what they became known for. Now, Wasp really, really is a great band. They've had great musicians in the band. Blackie Lawless is a great songwriter. He's done a couple of concept albums that are really, really good. But, when you do something that's this controversial, you're probably going to be known for it forever. So, right, wrong, or indifferent, that's kind of where it comes from. They are doing another tour here coming up. So if you need to get your fill of Wasp, they'll be coming to a town near you and probably playing this song.
So be prepared.
Yeah. So Animal, Blank Like a Beast is on A, and the B-side is Show No Mercy.
Nice.
Yeah. I can't believe I found this. The lady, like I said, the lady that I bought all of those records from it was mainly R&B and like DJ music, and then 2 boxes full of this stuff. Good finds.
Yeah, sometimes those rare singles or 12-inch singles are the only way to get certain songs.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I didn't bring it, but the Dead Kennedys, Too Drunk to Fuck.
That's my favorite song by them too.
I mean, for the longest time, in the vinyl days, the only way to get it was on a single.
Yeah. I have what is their collection? Is it Give Me Convenience or Give Me Death?
Yeah.
It's
collections will have it.
Yeah. Oh God, that's a funny song. What's your next one?
Next. I've talked about it. I love this album. Liz Phair, Exile on Guyville. And Liz, this is probably the female perspective of relationships,
mm-hmm.
and everything that goes on with relationships. I mean, there are a lot of sexual songs on this,
mm-hmm.
but the big one is Fucking Run. And basically, Liz is saying, hey, I'm just going to, sleep with you and get out of here.
Is this an original, or is this the...
This is a repop.
Oh, okay, repop.
Because, in the CD era, I had the CD.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't even thinking about vinyl at that time.
Right.
But Liz is one of those artists that I kind of had a crush on.
Oh, yeah.
And she's just... every single song on this is it's a double.
Mm-hmm.
And this was it came out on Matador, and it's billed as her debut, but it's not really her debut. She had a debut, The Girly Sound,
on an independent,
which I think eventually Matador released, but it came out in 91, and it was basically mixtaped, not mixtape,
demos
that she was trying to get everybody in Chicago to listen to.
Yeah.
And finally, it got back, after this came out, it got back to Matador, and they put it out.
That's great. Yeah, she's awesome, man. I mean, kind of her own thing. Pre-Alanis Morissette, you had Liz Phair, you had PJ Harvey, those kinds of women making hard rock music.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very cool.
And she's more like I'd put her in something like a Dylan.
Mm-hmm.
She's very much a songwriter.
Yeah.
And there's one song on the, I mean, I like every single song, but there's one song, the divorce song. And it's, if you listen to it's how guys say things, but women hear things different.
Oh yeah. So 2 sides.
Yeah. The 2 sides of, it's great music.
Yeah.
It's a great message.
That's good. That reminds me, you remind me of so much stuff I need to listen to and check out. Because this got re-released like 4 years ago, right?
Yeah. I can't remember when this came out, but it was kind of it was like a
30th anniversary or something.
This is just the normal. It's not the big 30th anniversary expanded edition, because that was like, a couple $100 at the time.
Yeah. Yeah. That's very cool, man.
Yeah, and there weren't many singles from this. Never Said and Stratford On Guy.
She kind of is an under the radar artist still. I feel like a lot of people know who she is, but she came about like before that, like renaissance in the 90s with a lot of the female singers like Sheryl Crow, Alanis Morissette, the list goes on. And for some reason, she just kind of flies under the radar.
Yeah, and for a long time, I really wanted to go to one of these shows. It just didn't ever work out. In Chicago, she was doing just this album.
Oh, that's cool.
At a small club.
Oh, that's cool.
That would have been, to see the album front to back.
Yeah.
That would have been a dream.
Yeah. Well, that's a cool one, man. And kind of a
suggestive
cover.
Yeah. Liz didn't care.
Maybe not as suggestive as the Wasp cover, but
yeah, but very suggestive.
That's a good one, man. Well, I'm going to just throw it out here. This is Def Leppard's Hysteria, and Pour Some Sugar on Me is a song on this that lives its own life within the world of Def Leppard, within Hysteria. That song is the one that people immediately think of when they think of Def Leppard and this album and this era. The album is fantastic. This is from Def Leppard. It's from the 87 album Hysteria. Reached number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100. I'm surprised it didn't go to number 1. And it's considered the band's signature song. It was ranked number 2 on VH1's 100 Greatest Songs of the 80s. Now, the crazy thing is they were almost done recording this album. And Mutt Lange, who was the producer, but not the original producer of this album was Jim Steinman. The band recorded with Jim Steinman, the guy that worked with Meatloaf, recorded with him, weren't happy with the results, so went back to Mutt Lange, who, by the way, Mutt produced all the big AC/DC records too. And, on and on and on. Shania Twain, it goes on and on. Mutt didn't think that there was really a signature song. And it came down to the last few weeks that they were recording this album, and I think Joe Elliott had come up with a riff, and he and Mutt started stream of consciousness, throwing out things for lyrics, and that's how the song was born. And the song is enormous. There were other singles on this album, and the first was Women, and that didn't do anything. And also, Joe Elliott says that the song was at least partially inspired by the Aerosmith and Run DMC version of Walk This Way, which made him realize the potential of mixing hip-hop and rock.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So you can really, if you think about it in that context, you can really kind of hear it.
Yeah.
But I love this whole album. It's recorded immaculately. They're very layered vocals and harmonies and stuff. It sounds like nothing else. Def Leppard, again, is one of those bands from that mid to late 80s era that it's them when you hear it.
Oh, yeah.
And in a flood of a bunch of bands that record companies were just trying to duplicate and get stuff out there, to be able to sound original is not an easy thing to do. And I just love the artwork on it too.
Yeah, it's very different than their other stuff.
Yeah, yeah. This was definitely their breakout record and their biggest seller. But can you imagine having a hit like Pyromania with as many songs as that had on it?
Yeah.
Your drummer loses his arm. you're basically behind the ball for like almost 4 years recording this, and then it comes out and it just
Explodes.
the first single is a dud and everybody's freaking out, and then it just blows up. Yeah. They're a great band. I kind of wish they'd go back to more of the like rocking type stuff from Pyromania and the previous albums, but you know, they do their thing, and they do it well, and they've definitely cultivated a really good career for themselves over the years. So, Hysteria, pour some sugar on me.
That's a good one.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
Are you ready to get a little kinky?
I've been ready.
All right. Here we go. The Police.
Atlandos de Amor.
And on this is a song that a lot of people are not going to know, but Sally, Won't You Be My Girl? You know what it's about?
Mm-mm.
A blow-up doll. A sex doll. And or Be My Girl, Sally.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So Be My Girl, Sally from The Police is about a blow-up doll.
Hey, everybody's got that partner that they need, that they approve of, right?
Yeah, and this
Is this a Columbia Records Club
it may be.
version?
I bet it is. Because I had this.
It doesn't say that it is, but I thought that the Record Club version was the one with the Police in green, but I could be wrong.
So this came out in '78, and it was their debut record.
What an interesting band at the time to come out of the UK basically as a reggae band that's 3 white dudes.
Yeah. And there were some big hits off this album.
Mm-hmm.
Roxanne,
Yeah.
which is another, hey, it's about a prostitute.
Yeah.
And Can't Stand Losing You, So Lonely.
Oh, So Lonely is probably.
So yeah, to work the old sexual trope is every rock and roll band. Everything we're going to talk about. I mean, you can start going through songs like, oh, I know what that one's about.
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting listening back to stuff. I mean, sometimes it just doesn't sink in. You don't associate it with what it is actually intended to be associated with. It's kind of crazy. You don't think of the Police as kind of a dirty band, but yeah, Roxanne. And what was the name of the song? Sally.
Oh, yeah.
My Girl, Sally.
Yeah, My Girl. Be My Girl, Sally.
Nice. Yeah. Be My Girl, Sally.
It's a poem about a blow-up doll.
A poem set to music
Yes.
by 3 white guys playing reggae. It just gets weirder. I love the Police. What an unlikely, band of superstars, right?
Well, yeah, and I mean, even Roxanne was written after Sting visited a red light district in Paris,
Oh, okay.
near the band's hotel.
Huh. Interesting. Well, I mean, he was autobiographical.
Yes.
Apparently. I saw them on their reunion tour. I think it was in 2008. And I'm really glad that I saw them because I don't think they're ever going to be getting back together again.
No.
I got to see Elvis Costello open for them.
Oh, that's a good lineup.
Yeah, it was cool. I loved the band, but they only had 5 albums.
Yeah.
Right. And, go make your mark, become the biggest band in the world, and just say see you later.
Yeah, they're a lot like AC/DC. They don't have a big range.
Yeah.
They kind of do one thing.
Yeah. Yeah. But, Synchronicity was kind of
It was a little different, but
more experimental, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe more keyboards in the 80s fashion.
Yeah. Synthesizer. Yeah, that's true. But still, an amazing band, and amazing musicians. And Sting, love him or hate him, super talented dude.
Oh yeah,
great voice, great bass player. It's just like an unlikely band.
Yeah.
An unlikely band of superstars. That's a good one, man.
Next up.
Well, this is my MOV version of Warrant's Cherry Pie, and I'm sorry if you didn't know it, but
surprise, surprise.
Yeah, he's singing about sex in Cherry Pie. It's a really singable song. It's like an anthem. It's got a great beat. It sticks in your head and you can't get it out of there. And it basically ruined Janie Lane's life. But I mean, all the way down to Bobby Brown here on the cover on roller skates with a piece of pie, strategically falling to the ground.
Yeah.
I love Warrant. I love the Janie Lane era of Warrant. He was a fantastic songwriter. There is great music on this. I guess the story goes that they recorded this record and the record company came back and said that we need that anthemic sing-along song. And he wrote Cherry Pie in 5 minutes, and it became, what they were known for, and was the undoing of Janie Lane, because it's all people ever wanted to hear or remembered about him. And he thought of himself as a songwriter. He was a great performer and guitarist, had a great voice, but sometimes as a rock star or a musician, you're going to be pigeonholed to that one thing that you become famous for.
Yeah. And if it's something he wrote kind of in the back room in 5 minutes, here you go. How's this?
Yeah. Yeah. And this says that Cherry Pie, the single, was dedicated to the president of Sony Music Entertainment. The dedication was no doubt inspired by the record company pressure, which led to the track's creation. The album was completed without the song, but the record label requested a new rock anthem be added in order to enhance its marketability. Janie Lane responded by writing Cherry Pie in 15 minutes. It's just got a litany of metaphorical references to sex and bears some melodic resemblance to Def Leppard's Pour Some Sugar on Me. And the Arrows' I Love Rock and Roll. The guitar solo was played by Poison's guitarist C.C. DeVille, and at the end of the solo, a vocal aside acknowledges trained professional. So you can hear that in the song. I love this song. I love this band. The three Janie Lane, actually they did more than 3 albums with Janie, but the first one was Dirty Rotten Filthy Stinking Rich, great album. Cherry Pie, very good album. Dog Eat Dog, really good album. And I think the one after Dog Eat Dog was called Ultraphobic, and that was in the era of all of these hair bands having to kind of change their style and their direction because of grunge taking hold.
Yeah.
But Ultraphobic, even though it kind of has a different feel and sound, really, really good songs on it. And it's just a shame that we don't have him around anymore, because I feel like in today's world, bands that were kind of made fun of for being 80s hard rock bands, they're revered now. There are tours based on them. They can have a career 30 and 40 years after that hit. But at the time when Janie Lane was suffering and when he passed away, I mean, he was just unfortunately a victim of his own success.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a great record. There's a song on here called Uncle Tom's Cabin. Great story song. Yeah, give it a listen if you haven't listened to Cherry Pie. It's not just the single that was wrote in 15. It's not just the single that was written in 15 minutes. I said wrote. Turning into a country bumpkin. I think we only have 1 or 2 more each, don't we?
2 more.
2 more. All right.
ZZ Top, El Loco, 1981. There are so many sexual innuendo songs on this. I mean, 2 that come to the top of the mind. Tube Snake Boogie.
What are they talking about?
Figure it out.
Okay.
And Pearl Necklace.
Mm-hmm.
That's like after the Tube Snake Boogie, you have a pearl necklace.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the order in which they go.
And the amazing thing is, Tube Snake Boogie was a single.
Mm-hmm.
And the other single was Layla.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, man, we've talked about ZZ Top. They're another band that do what they do for sure. They play that blues, that dirty Texas blues, shuffly type stuff. And then into the, in the 80s, they became like kind of a totally different band, but that's where their bread was really buttered, was with those hits in the 80s.
Yeah, they embraced the MTV generation and overproduction of songs. They were like, sure, we'll do it.
Yeah, yeah. And I love listening to all their stuff.
Oh,
it's just, when you are one of the favorite guitarists of Jimi Hendrix, and Billy Gibbons was, that says something. For sure. Which album of theirs was this? It came out in 79, right?
Yeah, it came out in 79, and this was their, let's see.
I'm going to guess 7th.
Yes, 7th studio
album. I can't believe I just got
very
that right.
Good.
Thank you.
And it was foreshadowed by the band's extensive usage of, as we talked about, on Eliminator and Afterburner of synthesizers.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. Such a great band. And, until Dusty Hill died, they were one of the only bands that had been around as long as they had and not changed out any members.
Yeah, and I think they're still in the record book as the
one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. And, I've always loved the cover of this.
Yeah, they were. I feel like they never really went to, except for maybe Eliminator. Their covers were always very simple.
Yeah, simple and kind of tongue in cheek.
Yeah,
for sure.
They're very much a fun party band.
Yeah, not taking themselves too seriously.
Yeah,
I mean, when you're singing about Tube Snake Boogie and pearl necklaces, how can you?
Yeah,
right. You're not exactly William Shakespeare. That's a good one, man.
Yeah, so
I need to get more of their stuff. I don't have a lot of their early albums.
You got to get it.
I have a few,
yeah,
but I need to get the rest.
I still think Fandango is one of my favorite live albums.
Yeah, it's good. It sounds great. Just 3 dudes up there making that sound. It's awesome. Very good.
You're up.
Well, I don't know if you guys knew this, but there's a guy named Prince from Minneapolis who had an album called Purple Rain, and on that album was a song called Darling Nikki. And I remember when I was 10 years old and this album and that movie came out. I mean, that's all anybody could talk about. Computer Blue is another one of the songs on here. There's just no overstating how big of a deal he became.
No.
Right?
And it's from this.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he was anyway. He was kind of like a prodigy, a very, people knew that he was super, super talented, but it wasn't until Purple Rain came out that it was maybe introduced to the rest of the world.
Yeah.
And Darling Nikki, you can listen to the lyrics. There's no ambiguity about what he's singing about. And I know this is the second Prince record that I've mentioned on this show, but it's what he sang a lot about.
Yeah, and it's hard to do this show and not mention that song.
Right. It's hard to do. It's hard to do this show in general and leave Prince out.
Yeah.
Because he, like we said on the last one, it was his 15th studio album by 1995, or maybe 17th, and he worked a lot.
Yes.
He kind of ran his bands like James Brown. Everybody had to be on point. He had a very working man's attitude toward everything. He played all the stuff on the albums. It's, he was a historic figure. I mean, he was a living legend, and it's just such a bummer that he's not around anymore.
Yeah.
But when you think sex songs, he's one of those guys that you go to very, very quickly.
Yes.
I mean, when this came out, you were probably in college, right? Or close?
I was still in high school.
Oh, were you?
Yeah.
Okay. And it was a huge deal.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, to have a movie and a soundtrack and all of that stuff kind of releasing at the same time,
Yeah.
There really hasn't been anybody like that since. So, but had to mention it. I know we talk about Purple Rain a lot. Okay, this is it.
And my last one, Lou Reed, Transformer. And Lou has a song on Transformer, Walk on the Wild Side. This was his second studio album. It came out in 1972 after he'd left the Velvet Underground. And Walk on the Wild Side, at the time in 1972, it touched on a controversial topics of sexual orientation, gender identity, prostitution, and drug use. Hey, that ticks a lot of boxes.
Yeah, it does. Did you pay $18 for this wheel?
How about that? And I think it's one of those that when I bought it at a show, it had been $32.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice.
And I got it for 18.
I like it.
So I think it was when I picked it up at a show. It's like one of those albums that I have on CD, but I'm like, I'm just going to put this on the shelf. I don't have to listen to it right now.
Yeah.
I've got it on CD.
Yeah. That's great. My wife mentioned Lou Reed to me last night, and I'm like, I don't have any Lou. I don't have Velvet Underground. I need to get that taken care of.
And this is a good intro, Lou. It had 3 singles, and Walk on the Wild Side, Satellite of Love, and Vicious.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. What year? Is this his?
This is his second.
Okay. Do you know who the woman is on the back here?
No, I don't.
Huh. Almost thought it was Elvira for a minute.
Yeah. The cover art was done by Carl Stoker, who he shot 3 Roxy Music album covers. So,
oh, did he? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Oh, the woman you ask about. She's a 60s London supermodel, Gayla Mitchell.
Gayla Mitchell. There she is. Right there.
And the guy is a friend of Reed's.
Looks
And
he looks pretty excited.
yeah, he has a noticeable erection. But the real story is
we're gonna have to take that out of.
Why? You can't say?
No, I'm not gonna take it out of the show. We're gonna get it and just put it on a loop.
We're going to put it on loop. Oh, boy. But Reed said it was actually a banana, which his buddy stuffed down his jeans before the photo shoot.
Okay. I mean, what's with Lou Reed and bananas? I mean, the first
Why not?
Velvet Underground is a banana.
He has a banana fetish.
Okay.
Yeah. And Lou's kind of smiling wryly about, my buddy's got a banana in his pants.
Not going to fall for the banana in the tailpipe thing.
Yeah, so that's Lou Reed, Transformer.
I love it. That's great. My last one is Elton John, an Elton John album that is kind of not known a lot about. From the 80s era, Too Low for Zero. There's a song on here called Whipping Boy, and just look it up. Give it a listen. It's a great song. You know, not everything that Elton did turn to gold. And, but on the other side of that, he made a lot of music and struck while the fire was hot. Too Low for Zero. In 1983, 31st of May, it was released, and it's his 17th studio album. So if you think about it, he started in, 69 was really his first record. So that's more than an album a year.
Yeah, and I mean, to think that's his 17th in 83.
Yeah.
And he's put out tons of albums since then.
Yeah. And this mentions it marked a comeback for Elton, whose previous 4 albums had failed to yield many enduring international hit singles and had disappointing sales compared to his string of hit records released during the first half of the 70s. It's his second best-selling album of the 80s after Sleeping with the Past. It's been certified as platinum and produced several hit songs, each accompanied by successful MTV music videos, and it spent over a year on the Billboard album charts. So I guess that's why they call it the blues. Is the first I'm Still Standing. Those are both like huge Elton John songs. Kiss the Bride, Too Low for Zero, and Cold as Christmas. And, there's, what else can you say about Elton? That there are going to be sexual-oriented songs in his catalog. His writing partner was a straight man.
Yeah.
Bernie Taupin, who wrote the lyrics. So, Elton put the music and Bernie wrote the words. And, sometimes there's going to be some different subjects. And you don't think of Elton John as being like a risque artist, but, he's had a long career, had a ton of hits. Maybe there is some ambiguity about what some of these songs mean and these lyrics mean, but basically he's just a living legend.
Yeah.
And have you ever seen
No.
Elton live? No, your daughter has.
My
though.
daughter has.
Yeah. I always love the slipcover here.
Yeah.
Too Low for Zero. And it's, pretty stark design on the album. But I've always loved Elton. I don't know what it was as a kid. Goodbye Yellow Brick Road.
Yeah.
It's just, I heard that song and immediately loved it and have my whole life. But this is one that kind of popped into my head when I had gone through another list of adult-oriented music. But it's a good one to end on.
Yes.
We're not too controversial, not too objectionable. It's not the
it's a good closer.
It's not the Saw codpiece from the Wasp record.
That would not be a good ending.
No. But we want to thank you guys for tuning in with us and coming along with us on this little journey. The themed shows are things that we love doing, but we really need help. This is our 69th episode. And
Bing, bing.
And it's not easy coming up with new themes and things to talk about. And as we've mentioned, we do all the extra stuff on the YouTube channel, the unboxings and the other shorts, the 3 things that we share with you, just to give you a little extra trivia about certain bands or songs or musicians and things like that. But we want you guys to join in on social media, help us put together more ideas for these things. And, we will pounce on those and have a dialogue going back and forth. And maybe the next time you tune into this, it'll be a show that you suggested to us. Wouldn't that be great?
Hoo-ha.
Hoo-ha. So we want to thank you guys for coming along. We want to thank Jacob Hansen and Keith Toombs for helping us out with all this stuff. And for Wheels, I'm Jay, and we'll see you all the next time around.
It's a